Imagine waking up tomorrow to the news that humanity has achieved the impossible. We can now live on Mars. No more waiting decades for slow-moving space programs or untested technologies. The red planet is suddenly open for settlement, and the first wave of pioneers is preparing to leave Earth behind. What would this mean for us as a species? How would our lives change if Mars became our second home overnight? This isn't just science fiction anymore. With rapid advancements in space technology, the idea of living on Mars is closer to reality than ever before. So, let's explore this incredible scenario. What if we could live on Mars tomorrow? First, let's talk about how we'd even get there. If Mars colonization became possible immediately, we'd likely rely on next-generation spacecraft designed for rapid transit. Companies like SpaceX have already been developing massive rockets like Starship, capable of carrying dozens of passengers and tons of cargo to Mars in a matter of months. But if we're assuming this happens tomorrow, we'd need to already have a fleet of these ships ready to go. That means years of secret testing and production would have had to take place behind the scenes. Once launched, these ships would embark on the perilous journey through space, facing cosmic radiation, microgravity effects on the human body, and the psychological strain of being millions of miles from home. Upon arrival, the first settlers would step onto a barren, dusty world with a thin atmosphere made mostly of carbon dioxide. The temperature would average around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, with nighttime plunging even lower. There's no liquid water on the surface, no breathable air, and no protection from solar radiation. So how would we survive? The answer lies in advanced habitats, pressurized domes or underground structures built to shield humans from Mars' harsh environment. These habitats would need to be self-sustaining, recycling air and water while generating power through solar panels or nuclear reactors. Early colonists would likely live in prefabricated modules sent ahead of time, slowly expanding their base as more people arrived. Food would be another major challenge. Shipping supplies from Earth would be expensive and unsustainable long-term, so Martian settlers would need to grow their own. Hydroponic and aeroponic farms would allow crops to flourish indoors without soil, using LED lights tuned to optimal growth spectra. Scientists have already experimented with growing plants in simulated Martian soil, with some success. Potatoes, wheat, and even tomatoes could potentially thrive in controlled environments. But until agriculture becomes fully established, colonists would rely on carefully rationed pre-packaged meals. Then there's the question of water. Mars has ice caps and possibly underground reservoirs, but extracting and purifying it would require sophisticated equipment. Early missions would likely bring water with them, but sustainable living would depend on tapping into Martian resources. Some proposals suggest melting polar ice or extracting trace water from the soil. Without a steady supply, survival would be impossible. One of the biggest dangers on Mars is radiation. Unlike Earth, Mars lacks a strong magnetic field and thick atmosphere to block harmful cosmic rays and solar flares. Long-term exposure could lead to increased cancer risks and other health problems. To mitigate this, habitats might be buried under layers of Martian soil or built inside lava tubes, natural tunnels formed by ancient volcanic activity. These underground shelters would provide crucial protection, but venturing outside would still require shielded suits and strict time limits. Social dynamics would also play a huge role in a Martian colony. The first settlers would be a mix of scientists, engineers, and adventurous pioneers, all living in close quarters under extreme stress. Conflicts would be inevitable, and without Earth's legal systems, new forms of governance would need to emerge. Would Mars be governed by Earth-based organizations, or would it declare independence? How would laws be enforced? These questions could shape the future of interplanetary society. Economically, Mars would start as a scientific outpost, but over time it could develop its own industries. The planet is rich in minerals like iron, aluminum, and silicon, which could be mined and exported back to Earth or used for local construction. Some have even speculated about the potential for Mars to become a hub for manufacturing in low gravity, producing materials that are difficult to make on Earth. But in the early days, the colony would depend entirely on funding and supplies from back home. Perhaps the most profound impact of living on Mars would be psychological. Imagine looking up at the sky and seeing Earth as just a bright star, millions of miles away, with no quick return possible. The isolation could be crushing for some, while others might thrive in the challenge of building a new world. Mental health would be as critical as physical survival, requiring careful screening of colonists and robust support systems. And what about the long-term future? If Mars became a permanent home for humanity, could it ever be terraformed, transformed into an Earth-like planet with breathable air and flowing rivers? Some scientists believe it's possible, though it would take centuries. Ideas include releasing greenhouse gases to thicken the atmosphere, melting ice caps to create oceans, and introducing genetically engineered plants to produce oxygen. But for now, any Martian cities would remain sealed environments, fragile bubbles of life in a vast desert. So, what if we could live on Mars tomorrow? It would be the greatest adventure in human history. A leap into the unknown that would redefine our species. The challenges would be immense, but so would the rewards. Scientific discoveries, technological breakthroughs, and the birth of a new branch of civilization. Mars would test our resilience, creativity, and unity as never before. And who knows? Perhaps one day, the red planet could become a second home for humanity. A backup for Earth, or even a stepping stone to the stars. This is Think What If, signing off. If you enjoyed this journey into the possibilities of Mars colonization, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more mind-expanding explorations of the future. What do you think? Would you volunteer to live on Mars? Let us know in the comments below.